Hi, Kevin here. Today we're fixing some sweet and highly aromatic pumpkin spiced cinnamon rolls. Let me adjust the camera so we can get right into the recipe. Alright, I'm going to mix and knead the dough entirely by hand today. So what you do is grab a big mixing bowl and add a half cup of warm water and a half cup of warm milk. And I am using whole milk. Then we need some yeast. I'm using instant yeast, but you could use dry active yeast if that's what you have on hand. And we need to add 2 1/4 teaspoons of the yeast. And if you know your yeast is good, you do not have to proof it first. And I do know that my yeast is good. Then we're going to add, well actually first we're going to whisk the yeast to dissolve it. And then we're going to whisk in 1/3 cup of regular granulated sugar. And 1/3 cup of either shortening or room temperature butter. I'm using shortening. It's just good old Crisco. I will say that shortening works out really well in this recipe. Whisk that in. Just kind of break it up. And you don't have to break it up completely because it will be dispersed as we knead the dough. Then add 1 large egg. Whisk it in. Add 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. And 3/4 cup of pure pumpkin puree. Now I'm using canned puree, but you could use your own pumpkin puree. You could even use butternut squash puree. I think that would be very nice in this recipe. Quickly beat that in with the whisk. Then we need some aromatherapy. And for this, I'm going to use a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice, which, and I wrote down the ingredients, it's made up of cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, and allspice. We need 1 teaspoon. Oh, it smells just heavenly. Okay, now we have to get the shortening out of the whisk. So just separate the tines. There we go. Then add 4 cups of all-purpose flour. We're going to stir this with a green spoon. What we're doing is creating a rather stiff dough. And I do stir it in one direction because I read somewhere that when you stir it in one direction, you help the gluten to develop. Whether that is a real thing or make-believe, I do not know, but I stir in one direction. Yeah, and this dough is getting very stiff. And when you know when it's too stiff to stir, then you're ready to start kneading it. And we are at the too stiff to stir stage. So let me clear the decks, and then we'll come back and knead the dough. Alright, it's time to knead the dough. And since I don't want to add any flour to the dough, what I'm going to do is lightly spray my work surface and my hands with vegetable spray. And then on goes the dough. Yeah, you don't want to keep adding flour after you've made the dough because the extra flour will toughen the dough. And these are soft, pillowy rolls. Roll up your sleeves. Time to get some exercise. And of course, when you knead, you fold the dough over on itself and then you push it out with the heel of your hand. Yeah, just fold, push, fold, push, fold, push, and so on and so forth. What we're aiming for is a smooth and elastic dough that isn't sticky at all, or is only slightly sticky anyway. Okay, and I'm going to keep kneading this until it becomes smooth and elastic, and then I'll come back. Okay, my dough is looking pretty good. It's fairly smooth. It doesn't have to be uber smooth. I mean, we're not making bread dough here. We're making rolls. Soft, sweet, wonderful rolls. So, have a look. Then, at this point, either wash out and dry and grease the original mixing bowl, or if you happen to have one laying around, grab a fresh bowl, give it a little spritz of vegetable spray or oil, and then form the dough into a ball. And to do that, you just tuck the sides under, drop the dough into the bowl, flip to grease the other side, and then cover the bowl with plastic wrap. And put this in a warmish spot until the dough doubles in volume. This will take, about 90 minutes. So we'll come back. Okay, now we can prepare the pans in which the rolls will bake. What we have to do is butter and sugar them. So I have some soft or even partially melted butter here because I stuck the butter in the microwave. And then you brush the bottom of each pan. Did I say these were 9-inch? Yeah, they're 9-inch cake pans. And you also want to butter the sides of the pans so that the rolls don't stick. Then add, about a tablespoon of sugar. A little more. And then tap the pan to disperse the sugar all along the bottom of the pan. You do not have to sugar the sides. Now, when the rolls bake in the oven, this sugar-butter combo is going to turn into caramel. So the rolls will have a nice caramelly crust on the bottom. Okay, I'm going to do this other pan and then I'll show you the filling. All right, for the filling, you'll need a ½ cup of regular granulated sugar and 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and just for fun, you don't have to add this, I'm going to add a whisper of ground clove, about a ¼ teaspoon. And I do love the scent of clove. In aromatherapy, clove is said to warm the body and the mind. supposed to be good for toothaches too, I think. Okay, we're done with the filling. So we will come back when the dough has finished its first rise. All right, the dough has definitely doubled in volume. So here's the next step. Remove the cling film. And then, this is the fun part, violently punch down the dough to deflate it. Okay, now just to be safe, I am going to spray my board with vegetable spray, just very lightly. And then on goes the dough. And what we have to do is roll this out to a 9 by 15 inch rectangle. Turn my board this way. Make sure you can see, all right? Maybe I'll move in a little. Move you in, that is. And then I want to see if my rolling pin is going to stick to the dough. Yep. So I have my emotional support flour here. Going to sprinkle just a tiny bit on the top. And I'll put a little bit on my rolling pin. Okay, and then, okay, so this is about 9 inches here. I have made these rolls so many times that I know the measurements. I don't have to get out my yardstick. Yeah, it rolls very easily now. So that's a 9 by 15 rectangle. And you don't need to be exact. This is a very forgiving recipe. Okay, and then flip the board again. We're going to spread this dough with softened butter. A lot of softened butter, about 6 tablespoons. Well, I'm trying to be neat and tidy here. I'm just going to use my hand to spread the butter. Oh, much easier. So this is how I would normally do this if I was not filming. Okay, there we go. And now you'll need to excuse me because I have to go wash my hand. Okay, we are back and our hands are clean. So now I'm going to top the butter with the cinnamon, sugar, and clove mixture. The very aromatic mixture. So I told you that in aromatherapy, clove is said to warm the body and mind. Cinnamon is said to reduce irritability, which is why people that eat cinnamon rolls and these pumpkin spiced cinnamon rolls are calm people indeed. Then, so that the filling doesn't go rushing out when I roll this thing up, I'm just going to pat the sugar mixture lightly into the dough. Okay, and then I'm going to roll this up from the long end, starting at the long end, I mean. You want to roll as tightly as you can, but in truth, this is such a soft dough that it's rather difficult to roll it as tightly as you might like. And there we are. When you get to the end, pinch the seam to seal it. And then pat the sides with the back of your hands just to flatten them. And then there are two ways you can cut these. You could use dental floss, which preferably you have a box of this reserved strictly for kitchen use. And the goal is to cut 1-inch rolls. So you slide the dental floss underneath, take the two ends, crisscross them, and pull. There, you get a nice clean cut. Much easier, however, is to take the bench scraper and cut. The only thing about the bench scraper is that it tends to flatten the rolls, but that's all right. You can reform them when you put them in the pan. Let's see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. We'll have one big one at the end here. Make sure that's really cut. Okay, let me fetch my cake pans. And just arrange the rolls so that they're, just slightly apart. Try to leave a little airspace between them. Okay, I'm going to finish filling these pans and then I will come back. Alright, so I have 7 rolls in each pan. If you end up with, let's say 15 rolls, you could put 7 in one pan and 8 in another. And then cover the pans with cling film. And then we're going to let these rise in a warmish spot until they've doubled in volume. And this will take, just 30 to 45 minutes. And midway through the rising time, preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, we'll come back. Okay, I'm back. I decided that I would freeze one of the pans of rolls. If I bake both of them now, I'll end up eating at least one entire pan. So this will go into the freezer, and then some future date I will let this thaw and let the rolls rise and then bake them off. That'll be a nice treat someday this winter. Okay, I'll come back when the rolls have finished rising. Alright, the rolls have doubled in volume, so I'm going to bake them off in the 350 degree oven for 25 minutes. I'll come back when they're done. And here are the rolls, all puffed and lightly browned. And boy, do they smell terrific. I'm going to glaze them while they're still hot. And for the glaze, what I have here are 2 cups of confectioner's sugar and about a 1/4 cup of milk. So I'm going to whisk the milk into the sugar. You could add pure vanilla extract too if you like, but honestly these rolls are so flavorful they really don't require any extra flavorings. And I just want to get this glaze to a consistency that can be poured. And I think we are good to go. Tap, tap. Okay, we turn the roll so you can see. And then I'm just going to spoon this gorgeous glaze on top. And I did use milk instead of water because I wanted to have a white glaze. If you use water, the glaze will be there, but ain't no one gonna be able to see it. Ooh. I'm gonna use almost all of this glaze because I don't think it's possible to have too much glaze. Okay, and then I'm going to let this sit here for a minute while I brew some coffee, and then we can have a taste. And here's the coffee. Some heavy cream. I know. And here is a pumpkin spiced cinnamon roll. Now we can have a taste of it. Move you in. Now you could certainly eat this by hand. I'm going to try to be a proper gentleman and use a fork and a knife. Look at this. This is heavenly. Yeah, I'm going to eat far too many of these rolls. The rolls are sweet and yeasty and gooey and soft and fluffy. The pumpkin pie spices are, as I said earlier, highly aromatic. And I'm really glad that I added that little whisper of clove to the cinnamon and sugar filling. And I wanted to say that even if you've never kneaded yeast dough before, you really won't have trouble with this dough. Just do what I ended up doing and lightly spray your kneading board with vegetable spray. Lightly spray your hands as well, and the dough will knead very easily. And even if you screw up everything, the rolls will still turn out perfectly. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Please tap the little bell icon to receive notifications, and please post a comment below. I do read all of your comments, and I really love hearing from you. All right, I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye. Okay, I'm back, and I probably have glaze and cinnamon and sugar all over my lips, but I wanted to tell you that I will post the list of ingredients in the description box below, and in a couple of days I will put the printable recipe over on my website, and I will put a link to that recipe in the description box below. Okay, again, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.